Mary McLeod Bethune was born on July 10, 1875 in Maysville, South Carolina. She was a leading educator and civil rights activist. Bethune grew up in poverty as one of 17 children born to former slaves. Everyone in the family worked and many toiled in the fields picking cotton. Bethune became the one and only child in her family to go to school when a missionary opened a school nearby for African American children. Bethune later received a scholarship to the Scotia Seminary, a school for girls in Concord, North Carolina. After graduating from the seminary in 1893, she went to the Dwight Moody Institute for Home and Foreign Missions, also known as the Moody Bible Institute, in Chicago. Bethune completed her studies there 2 years later. For nearly a decade, Bethune worked as an educator. She married fellow teacher Albertus Bethune in 1898. The couple had one son together, Albert McLeod Bethune. She believed that education provided the key to racial advancement. To that end, Bethune founded the Daytona Normal and Industrial Institute for Negro Girls in Daytona, Florida in 1904. With $1.50 in her pocket and 5 girls in a rented cabin. By 1918, and 250 students later, school property included a 4-story building called Faith Hall, a 2-story building used as a kitchen, and a new $40,000 auditorium. Bethune served as the school's president, and she remained its leader even after it was combined with the Cookman Institute for Men in 1923. The merged institution became known as the Bethune-Cookman College. The college was one of the few places that African American students could pursue a college degree. Bethune stayed with the college until 1942. In addition to her work at the school, Bethune did much to contribute to American society at large. She served as the president of the Florida chapter of the National Association of Colored Women for many years. In 1924, Bethune became the organization's national leader, beating out fellow reformer Ida B. Wells for the top post. Bethune also became involved in government service, lending her expertise to several presidents. President Calvin Coolidge invited her to participate in a conference on child welfare. For President Herbert Hoover, she served on commission on home building and home ownership and was appointed to a committee on child health. But her most significant roles in public service came from Franklin D. Roosevelt. In 1935, Bethune became a special advisor to President Roosevelt on minority affairs. That same year, she also started up her own civil rights organization, the National Council of Negro Women. Bethune created this organization to represent numerous groups working on critical issues for African American women. One of the nation's leading educators and activists, Mary McLeod Bethune spent much of the rest of her life devoted to social causes after leaving Bethune-Cookman College in 1942. An early member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, she helped represent the group at the 1945 conference on the founding of the United Nations along with W.E.B. Du Bois. Eventually returning to Florida in her retirement, Bethune died on May 18, 1955 in Daytona, Florida. She is remembered for her work to advance the rights of both African Americans and women. Before her death, Bethune penned My Last Will and Testament, which served as a reflection on her own life and legacy in addition to addressing a few estate matters. Among her list of spiritual bequests, she wrote, I leave you a thirst for education. Knowledge is the prime need of the hour. Bethune closed with, if I have a legacy to leave my people, it is my philosophy of living and serving. Since her passing, Bethune has been honored in many ways. In 1973, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. The U.S. Postal Service issued a stamp with her likeness in 1985. In 1994, the U.S. Park Service brought the former headquarters of the NCNW. The site is now known as the Mary McLeod Bethune Council House National Historical Site. Without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. As long as Negroes are hemmed into racial blocks of prejudice and pressure, it will be necessary for them to bank together for economic betterment. Next to God, we are indebted to women for life itself and then for making it worth living. Quotes by Mary McLeod Bethune. The truth worth of a race measured by the character of its. Invest in the human soul. Who knows? It might be a diamond in the rough. Faith, the first factor in a life devoted to service. Without it, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. Forgiving is not about forgetting. It's letting go of the hurt. Cease to be a drudge. Seek to be an artist. The whole world opened up to me when I learned how to read. I plunged into the job of creating something from nothing. Though I hadn't a penny left, I considered cash money as the smallest part of my resources. I had faith in a living God, faith in myself, and a desire to serve. I am my mother's daughter, and the drums of Africa still beat in my heart. They will not let me rest while there's a single Negro boy or girl without a chance to prove his worth. Mary McLeod Bethune, 1875 to 1955.